Hello boys and girls, and welcome to lesson 4-4 of your math journal, page 106, partial quotients. Okay, when we talk about partial quotients, or anytime we talk about quotients, we're talking about division, dividing. So over here, as you can see, we have partial quotients. So really what we're doing is we're dividing in parts. Okay? So we have the number 185 divided by 8. Okay? And we really don't know how to figure it out to the extent that we know how many 8s are in 185. So we do it partially. We know that when we multiply 8 times 10, we're going to get 80. And we continue to find by parts how many 8s are in this number by parts. So I know that 8 times 10 is 80. And then I subtract it from there. And I still have this many 8s in the number. So I do it again. 8 times 10. Again, it's another 80, and I continue to subtract until now I have a smaller number, and I know that 8 times 3 is 24, and that leaves me with 1. Now I'm going to add up all of the 8s, these 10 8s, these 10 8s, and these 3 8s. And now I have 23 number 8s. There are 23 number 8s in the number 185 with one remainder. That's the one thing about partial quotient. You're always, well, not always, but you will have a remainder rather than a decimal or a fraction. You will have a remainder. Or sometimes you just won't have, if it's exact, you won't have a remainder or a decimal. But rather than having a decimal, you will have a remainder. Okay, let's try questions 1 to 5. For number 1, we have 64 divided by 8. So we want to know how many 8s we have in the number 64. Then we have 749 divided by 7. Always remember that when we have a slash, that is the equivalent of a division sign. Okay? And over here we have again the division and the slash again, which is like a fraction. 749 divided by 7. 2,628 divided by 36. 8,190 divided by 9. Okay, let's use the partial quotient method to solve these. In your notebooks, you must use the partial quotient method. Now, I know that some of you are better with the traditional method, but we must learn and encourage you to learn different ways to solve the same problems. This just expands your brains and it expands your level of skills in problem solving. So let's try learning this way as well as the traditional method. Okay, so let's start with number 1. So we have 64 divided by 8, and we set it up with this line here along the side. We would draw this line down with partial quotient because we want to add up all of the 8s that are in 64. Some of you will already know that when you multiply 8 times 8, you will get 64. So the way you would do it is just 8 times 8 equals 64, and that gives you 0, and your answer is simply 8. Now we have a bit of a tougher one. We have 749 divided by 7. So we want to find out how many 7s are in 749. Now, I understand that if I multiply 7 times 10, I'm going to get 70. But if I multiply 7 times 100, I will have 700, as you see there. So let's go ahead and do that. 7 times 100 equals 700. Okay, so 9 minus 0 is 9, 4 minus 0 is 4, and 7 minus 7 is simply nothing, 0. Now, how many 7s do I have in 49? Well, a lot of you know by your multiplication tables that 7 times 7 equals 49. So, we put the 7. Now, notice, boys and girls, that I aligned the 7 in the ones place, not the tens or the hundreds. Right in the ones place, because I'm going to add all of these up and they have to keep their value. Okay, so now I have 7 times 7 is 49 equals 0. And now I just add all the 7s I've been counting and I have 107. And there's my answer. Number 3 is definitely going to be a tougher question because we're dealing now with a double-digit number. As you can see here, 36 and 2,628. But do keep in mind that let's work with 36 first. Let's work with it. We understand that we can break 36 it's divisible by 4. So let's see. When we divide 36 into 4 parts, we get 9, 18, 27, and 36. The reason I did this is to show you what 25% would be, okay, what 50% would be, what 75% would be, and what 100% of the number is. And again, you're probably wondering, why are you showing us this? Well, for this reason. If I multiply 36 times 100, okay, I am going to have the number 3,600, correct? If I multiply 36 times 75, I'm going to have 36 times 75. I'm going to get the number 2,700, which is actually pretty close to what I'm looking for. You see it? If I multiply 36 times 50, I'm going to get the number 1,800, which is right here. I don't know if you're following the pattern, but here's the 18,500. The 27 is 2,700, or the 9. So 36 times 25%, which is the 9, 25%, I'm going to get, what would our answer be? What's 25%? If you said 36 times 25 equals 900, you are correct. Okay? The closest that it looks that we can get is 36 times, or 75%. It's the closest, but it goes over. So the second closest would be 36 times 50% is 1,800. So let's go ahead and work with that. See, boys and girls, this is a trick, and this is why I broke it into quarters, so that you can see when we multiply by 100, by 75, by 50, or by 25, we simply just get what you see here with the extra zeros, because you're multiplying it by its percent. So let's do 36 times 50. As we did down here. 36 times 50. 1,800. 1,800. Okay, so we have 828. Now, what's the closest one here? Should I multiply by 50 again? No, that would go over. But can I multiply by 25? No, that still goes over. But what if I multiplied it, instead of by 25, I multiplied it by 20? Try 36 times 20. Well, you know that 36 times 10 is 360. 36 times 10, 360. But what if you double this? And you did 36 times 20 equals, well, just double this number, boys and girls. If you set 720, you are very close to 828. Okay, so let's do that. 36 times 20. And you have 720. You have 8, 0, 1. Go ahead, boys and girls, and continue working on this problem. Simply solve how many 36s you have in 108. Okay, and then solve it, and remember to add this up, and that's how many, whatever you get is how many 36s there are in 2,628. And write your answer there. Solve this one as well, and we will check them in class. Don't forget to show your work. Please show your work at the bottom of the page right here in the grid. You might not have enough room, so feel free to also use any blank areas on your page or additional paper from your notebooks. Let's look at 5. Raul has 237 string bean seeds. He plants them in rows of 8. So 237 beans. Okay, and he wants to plant them in rows of 8. So 8 per row. How many complete rows can he plant? Now here's the question, how many complete rows? So the remainder is not going to matter if there's a remainder. How many 8s are there in 237 is what you're being asked. Okay, I'm going to estimate about 8 times 100. 8 times 100 is 800. 8 times 25 is going to be 200. So I'm going to estimate about 25 would be my estimate, because that's going to give me around, or maybe even, or I'm going to add another 3 to that, 3 or 4, about 29. That's going to be my estimate. Okay, so go ahead and solve that. Just simply divide 237 divided by 8. Do not count the remainder. Okay, boys and girls? Please continue to practice your partial quotients on page 107 right here by dividing the followings. We will check those in class. Do this math problem here. Regina put 1,600 math textbooks into boxes. Each box held 24. So this was divided into 24 groups. Okay, into groups of 24. Sorry. How many boxes did she use? Okay, so we're breaking this up into groups of 24. How many boxes will she use? Now remember, if you have a remainder, that means you're going to need another box. Okay, let's look at number 10. Number 10 will be your key answer. Okay, for number 10, we have to make up a number story. A number story is also a word problem that can be solved with division. Solve it by using the division algorithm, which they mean the partial quotient. You will solve it down here. Now, boys and girls, I will write the question, and your answer will be your key answer. That shows me that you watched the video and that you were able to answer it. So here we go. A candy bar costs 7 cents. How many candy bars can you buy with 98 cents? How much change will you have remaining? This is your remainder. Use the partial quotient method. Okay, go ahead and solve that down here, boys and girls, and put a nice big star right there. And let's put one right at the end of the answer, right at the end of the question. Okay, boys and girls, that's your key answer. Please solve this, and I'll see you in class.